In 1588, the most powerful navy in the world set sail with one mission: to conquer England and overthrow Queen Elizabeth I. It was a fleet of more than 130 ships, thousands of soldiers, and the hopes of a vast Catholic empire. But just as Spain's mighty Armada approached the English coast, the skies turned. Storms rose from the Atlantic, scattering the fleet. Ships ran aground, smashed against rocks, or were driven hopelessly off course. The invasion collapsed, and England, against all odds, was saved. Some called it strategy, others called it luck, but to many it felt like a miracle. This is the story of the Spanish Armada and how a storm changed the fate of Europe. In the late 16th century, Spain was the most powerful empire on earth. Under King Philip II, it ruled vast territories in Europe, the Americas, and beyond. Its navy, the Spanish Armada, was unmatched in size and prestige, but England, under Protestant Queen Elizabeth I, stood in open defiance. Tensions had been building for years. England supported rebels in the Spanish-controlled Netherlands. English privateers attacked Spanish treasure ships. And perhaps most personally, Elizabeth had refused King Philip's marriage proposal. By the 1580s, religious conflict, political rivalry, and piracy had pushed the two nations to the brink of war. Philip decided it was time to act. In 1588, King Philip launched what he called the Enterprise of England. The goal: invade, conquer, and restore Catholic rule. His plan was bold. A fleet of 130 ships would sail from Spain through the English Channel. It would then rendezvous with 30,000 soldiers from the Spanish Netherlands under the command of the Duke of Parma. Together, they would cross to England, march on London, and remove Elizabeth from power. It was one of the most ambitious invasions in European history. But from the start, the Spanish Armada faced obstacles. Delays in port, bad weather, and logistical confusion slowed their launch. When the fleet finally set sail in May 1588, storms near the Bay of Biscay forced several ships to turn back for repairs. Still, by July, the Armada entered the English Channel. The English Navy, under the command of Lord Howard of Effingham and Sir Francis Drake, was smaller, but faster and more maneuverable. Over the next several days, the English used hit-and-run tactics to harass the Armada as it moved up the Channel. They avoided close combat, targeting weaker ships and staying out of range of Spain's heavier guns. The turning point came at the Battle of Gravelines. On August 8, 1588, off the coast of northern France, the English launched fireships, vessels set ablaze and sent drifting toward the Spanish formation. The Armada scattered in panic to avoid being set on fire. Seizing the moment, the English fleet attacked. The fighting lasted all day. Though the Spanish maintained discipline, they suffered heavy losses. Several galleons were damaged or sunk. The Armada retreated northward, unable to complete its mission. Now came the worst. Unable to rendezvous with Parma's army, the battered Spanish fleet attempted to return home the long way, sailing around Scotland and down past Ireland. That's when the weather struck again. Violent storms battered the ships as they rounded the British Isles. Many were driven onto rocky shores. Some sank in deep water. Others, too damaged to sail, were abandoned. In total, more than 30 ships were lost on the journey home. Thousands of sailors and soldiers died from drowning, hunger, exposure, or disease. Only about half the fleet made it back to Spain. The defeat of the Spanish Armada was not just a military failure. It was a psychological and political blow to the Spanish Empire. The myth of Spanish naval invincibility had been shattered. England, on the other hand, celebrated the victory as a sign of divine favor. A commemorative medal was struck with the Latin words, "Flavit Deus et dissipati sunt," God blew, and they were scattered. The idea that a storm, a divine wind, had saved England echoed across the nation. Queen Elizabeth's image as a chosen, almost sacred ruler grew stronger than ever. In reality, both strategy and weather played crucial roles. The English Navy's superior tactics and faster ships gave them the edge in combat. But the weather, sudden, violent, and perfectly timed, turned a military retreat into a disaster. The Armada was not the end of Spanish naval power, but it marked the beginning of a long decline. Spain would remain a global force, but it never again threatened England with invasion. The story of the Spanish Armada is a story of ambition, belief, and the unpredictable hand of nature. An empire at its height launched a fleet to conquer a rival and was defeated not only by battle, but by wind, waves, and weather. History often turns not on the strongest army, but on the tiniest shift in conditions, and the fate of nations can hang on a change in the wind. If you enjoyed this story, check out our video on the Mongol Empire's invasion of Japan, another epic fleet destroyed by a storm. Like, subscribe, and let us know, which lost armies or forgotten disasters should we cover next? Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe if you enjoyed.